What are capture the flag challenges anyway? First of all, it's about hacking, as you all guess, and then capture the flag is like a scoring system of the challenge, so that finally you end up in a setup where there are multiple teams competing and hacking each other, and you got a kind of a system to evaluate who performed best, so that, well, in the best case, you would have a full ordered system in the end where you see which teams performed best. How does this work exactly? Typically, each team receives a server image, which they have to set up. The server image deliberately contains a lot of vulnerabilities. Most of them are quite trivial, some are harder to detect. And by the time the contest starts, all teams have to find the vulnerabilities in their own images, trying to fix them out and exploit them at the other teams, so that if you found a vulnerability, you can try to get into the other team's systems. If you get into a system, you typically find a lot of information there. Some of them is deliberately left there by the organizers of the system, and you can submit it in a central location to prove that you hacked another system. For every piece of information that you submitted, you receive scores, and you actually transfer the scores from the defending party's amount of scores to your own scores. So the more flags you get, the more scores a team gets, and I think we end up with no slides at all. So okay, so now there we are. Yes, the services are tested for functionality every now and then by the organization, of course automatically by the scoreboard. If the services are not up and running, which is one of the central points of the contest, then a team, of course, gets no defensive points. So one of the possibilities to get better than the other teams is just trying to disturb the availability of their services. The second possibility is just hack into the services and steal the information that is left there by the organization And the third, of course, is to have your own services running all the time, not being disturbed by the attacks of the other teams, despite of the vulnerabilities that they are included in the source code. A third possibility to get points, which is quite new in the kind of CTF games, is that if people find vulnerabilities, they are encouraged to write advisories and send them to the organization. These advisories are then scored for style and completeness, which again is a third kind of scores. These scores are then all added, and well, we know that. Then why should I waste my time to play these games? The first, but obviously wrong, is to win it. The actual motivation to play capture the flag games is to learn new ways of exploitation, to learn getting hit by exploits, and of course to have fun. Then what do you learn in these games? Of course, they are not for real professional hackers. They are more for designed for students and those who want to learn hacking. Well, first you train your programming skills, because in these games you'll meet source code that was written by other people. And, well, of course, admittedly, it's typically written in a very bad style, but you learn how other people write, and you learn how to make it better. Then, typically, you learn or you develop on your own very innovative defensive skills, how to defend a system that contains as many holes as a Swiss cheese. You learn to work under pressure, and I think the most important is that people see where software breaks in real scenarios. Well, if students learn security in universities, they typically just learn that deploying certificates, deploying encryption leads to a 100% secure software. This is obviously not the case. So here's the point where we teach students at which point software really breaks in real systems. Then what won't you learn at these systems? It's real-life pen testing. Real systems work a little bit different than these capture the flag games, but we've seen that in the last talk. Then if you want to participate in a capture the flag game, the first thing you need is someone to set it up. The organizers need to have really a lot of spare time to set up, because as we'll see later on, all the services that are deployed in these capture the flag games are typically custom written. They are not something like a ready-to-take buggy Apache like 1.0.0.0 alpha, pre-release 1. So you need a lot of time to write these systems. Typically, you would like to know as an organization, as an hoster of these games, where the software will be break, so you need the expertise of exploiting the systems on your own. You need to be vicious to insert some really hard to find bugs, so that people after a while will recognize that they're getting exploited, but they don't know where it is. And of course, there are a lot of questions in these games, so being responsive is obviously a plus. For the players, if you participate, it seems trivial to say that people should know basic exploitation techniques and they should know about defending systems and programming, but in my experience of capture the flag games, there are teams where not a single participant could program. There are teams that can't set up IP tables. There are teams who gave away their root passwords to the administration. There are teams, well, this list could be really long, but so if you, I think one of the best things to do actually for future capture the flag games would be to set up page where the teams submit their participation request, and they already would have to solve some minor SQL injection or something like that just to sort out the strong ones from the weak ones. Our experience is also that if you want to set up a capture the flag game, it's futile to have teams that are larger than 10 people or smaller than 5, because in one way you would end up with having too less manpower if you are too less people, or otherwise you would have so many internal communication problems that some problems are not covered at all, or a lot of people tend to do the same and don't recognize it. And of course, players of capture the flag games would need to be able to read and understand English text, something that is not obviously, because like only 10% of all the players read the rules, read what a flag is, read how the scoring system works. Otherwise it's not able to explain how the outcome of some capture the flag games is. So if you're up to host a capture the flag game, or if you're going to participate, take all the information that's available, read it once, or at least, or even better, twice, just to be sure that you didn't miss a point. Of course, capture the flag games need to have rules, although being a hacking challenge would imply to some people that the absence of rules is a must. We need to have some rules because fun is one of the crucial parts of the game, and if everybody just does what they want, that the complete game will end up in havoc. First of all, we got a very good experience with explaining all rules before the game. Otherwise, if there's a referee decision on unethical behavior, players will just complain, and well, the fun is gone. We also suggest that unethical behavior like deleting vital system files or shutting down other people's servers should not be done, because the time for recovering from these heavy blows takes too long for a typical capture the flag game, so that the fun from the team that is hit is just gone. And well, this is just plainly not fair play, and if I have a root shell on another system, it's a much better use for it is just to install a kernel level backdoor or whatever and just getting all the flags from the system. Yeah, but anyway, enforcement of any rules is typically not possible, because in some ways the players are distributed all over the game and just connected all over the world and connected by VPNs, so that if I'm not there, I can't check whether their system contains some illegitimate firewall rules, or whether they do some other kernel level filtering or contain pucks, SE Linux or whatever. So just anyway, logging is suggested at the central point, just to make sure that if some team misbehaves, then you can prove it later on. Then other typical rules are that just cheating on the team size is, well, trivial, I think. Like if I have a rule that says no teams above 10 people and there's one team having 20 people, then this team of course has an advantage. So the problem is again that it's typically impossible to prove that a team in a remote capture the flag game has a certain team size, so just have to believe that. Intentionally supporting other team is the same. Yeah, just sticking to the last one, that no automated stack protections techniques or other things like that are allowed in capture the flag games, because